Oh my gosh, this one, I think this one might be the winner. And I have somewhere to be in 2.5 hours, so it was a total nightmare. These are chunky. Whoa. I am barely surviving on 4 hours of sleep. Oh my God, I'm getting nervous. My heart is beating fast. Let's look. Okay. And in total, I made... Hi friends, I'm Erica and welcome back to Atori Cafe, where I take you behind the scenes of growing my home bakery and one day fulfilling my dream of opening a brick and mortar cafe. Today is day one of prepping for a 2-day holiday market that I have coming up this weekend. So I really need to finalize the menu, which means today I need to make the final version of these black sesame lava milk bread rolls that I made for the first time last week. And I really want to have a new and improved cookie recipe. So I'm gonna try my best to knock that out today by maybe making at least 3 cookie recipes. We have a ton to do, so let's get into it. It is the end of the night. I have finally finished baking the 3 different cookies and they're finally cool enough to taste. So let's give them a try. Okay, the first one I already tried and I made a little mistake and they're not good. It's miso chocolate chip cookies. Yes, they look like biscuits and yes, they also taste like miso biscuits. Because this recipe had brown sugar and white sugar listed, of course I added the white sugar and totally did not even see that it also listed brown sugar. So I might remake them tomorrow, but yeah, those are out of the running. Next up, we have another version of a cookie that I have previously made that I tried to improve this time, which are these hojicha brownie cookies. I've basically just added chocolate to the tops of these to try to improve the visual. And my goal with these was to make them thicker. So I had actually added a little bit more flour and cornstarch to this in hopes of getting it to be like much thicker than this, but I feel like they're still too thin. And then the final cookie I made are these matcha brownie cookies. They are basically the matcha variation of the hojicha one I made, but this one I actually followed a different recipe. So I really love how thick they are. These basically just have a lot more flour than the other ones. So let's give them a try and see if either of these two are acceptable for the market. First up, let's try the hojicha cookies. I think they're okay. I feel like the addition of the flour and cornstarch has made the hojicha flavor a little bit fainter, so that part I think could be improved. I do like the melt in your mouth sensation added by the white chocolate on top, but I feel like that might be taking away a little bit from that hojicha experience. So let's move on to the matcha one next. All right, I think this one might be the winner. Oh my gosh, this one, the texture is so good. It's literally like a brownie in the center. I love it. I love that aspect. And then this one, I think because it has more salt than the hojicha version, so it actually kind of highlights the umami flavor of the matcha and makes that like the perfect contrast to the melt in your mouth sweet white chocolate on the top. I think because there's enough salt and there's that bitterness of the matcha, so it makes it like a brownie that's not too sweet, and then it also has a lot of interest between the cookie and the topping part of it. So I think this is definitely the right track. Whew, I am so glad I bit the bullet. It is like super late right now, but at least out of 3 recipes, I have something to work with. So I'm happy with the results, and I'm probably going to finesse this matcha cookie a little bit more and get it to the final state in the next few days. Whew. All right, that is the update for tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow. Finally done with baking all of the large trays of ube butter mochi. I finished the praline so that I could finish plating and take a photo of these larger black sesame milk rolls that I made. And I am so pooped, but at least it's finally time to try my second version of these milk rolls. I changed two things this time. One was making them much bigger, which is something I've been trying the last few times that I've been doing these bake sales. Right now, this hand fits 4. But when I initially made it, it fit 9. So I made them considerably bigger. I was trying to do the pricing for these rolls earlier, and they honestly just cost so much to make. They are just chock full of sesame seeds, which cost a lot, at least for like raw ones that I could find, because I freshly toast and grind them myself. So that is honestly like the majority of the cost of these rolls. There's like a lot of black sesame in here. So to try to make the price make sense, I have just tried to make them bigger, so at least I can cut down on the cost of packaging and plating to make them the best deal that I can for my customers. And then the second thing that I tried this time was adding heavy cream. The viral hack of adding heavy cream to a tin of sesame rolls. Apparently it's supposed to make it super moist. Last time I had baked these rolls, I did find that the edge was a little bit dry. So I'm hoping that with this heavy cream trick, I can really amp up the moisture in the rolls. Let's give it a try. Yeah, these are still so good. They're just so rich in that black sesame flavor. The intense, perfectly sweet sesame lava, similar to like a traditional Chinese dessert called tangyuan. If you get the black sesame ones, it's literally like black sesame lava in the center. It's so good. And these rolls basically have that. I think they are actually a little bit more moist. I feel like when I was pulling them apart, they still seem a little bit dry on the edges, which I'm sure is fine for normal rolls. I just really wanted to make sure they were as moist as possible when I served them to my customers. But even though they felt kind of dry when I was ripping it earlier, they're surprisingly not dry when you actually eat it, even on the edges. So these are gonna be the final version. Hello! I have to make 2 huge trays of my black sesame brownies, and I have somewhere to be in 2.5 hours. So let's see how fast I can get this done. Hello, good evening. I just came back from attending my first ever creator event, and I just finished baking another batch of these black sesame brownies, and it is time to pack all of these up before I go to bed because I don't have enough space to store these huge trays as they are. Recently, I've been trying to level up my content creation game. So when Joe came across this event and there was like a panel talking about creator commerce, I thought it might be a pretty good opportunity to learn some more and improve my craft. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and went. I am actually a total introvert. I have never ever voluntarily attended a networking event. I don't know if that says something good about me or bad about me, but I am absolutely an introvert, so I was definitely getting some social anxiety just thinking about having to meet new people, introduce myself at this event. To try to make myself less nervous and stressed about it, I tried to gamify it and set a goal for myself, just meet 3 new people and I'll call that a success. And in the end, I met 4 new people, so the event was very successful. It was actually not scary at all. All the people that I met were actually really down to earth, and the event itself was very well executed, so I would say it was a pretty good use of my time. But all right, where are we on the prep for this event? Well, so far, aside from recipe testing, I've finished the ube butter mochi. This will mean that the black sesame brownies are done, and then in the next 2 days, I need to bake all of the matcha brownie cookies, black sesame milk rolls, and I'm also planning to sell hot chocolate bombs as well. So it's gonna be a packed few days. Every night I have already been sleeping late, but just 2 more days of prep. Let's see how I do. Let's also use this time to make a guess for how I will do at the event. So the organizers told me that last year in one weekend, there were about 150 people who came in total. And this year they have more vendors, so they're expecting hopefully like 200 people. But for the sake of a conservative estimate, I just assumed 150 for the total attendance count. And I think there's not too many food vendors, so I want to assume same situation will happen as last time, where basically most people that come in do end up getting something. So taking all of that into account, I've planned to make 150 items total. So like 1 item per person, but usually the order size is more like 1.5 items. So that would kind of account for most, though not everyone, ordering from my table. And I think in the end, I'm prepping a little bit less than that because some items I'm honestly a bit doubtful if they will sell. 2 of the items I have this time are brand new items. One of them, well, it's huge, but it's $17, so quite a hefty item, which is the black sesame lava roll that we finalized earlier in the week. And then we also have the matcha brownie cookies, which I think will do pretty well because it's at a good price point. It's pretty typical size that I sell at. So I think that item should be fine, but I will be making less of the rolls than I had originally planned because I feel like it's a little bit risky, and also the largest pan that I just bought for that will only fit 12 rolls in each pan. So it would honestly be probably too hard for me to even prep more than that anyways. And I am also selling these hot chocolate bombs that I sold last year, and honestly, they are very hard to make. It's all handmade and hand decorated everything, but they look so nice and they add that holiday flair to my table. So I still wanted to bring those this time. Originally, I had planned to make more, but because I only have 1 mold, I think in the end, I'm gonna make the same amount as last year, which is at most probably 5 sets. So technically, I am prepping less than 150 items, but part of me is still scarred from the giant outdoor event that I did last year now, where it just totally rained and I was at a commercial kitchen and I churned out a bunch of stuff and I did not sell nearly as much stuff as I had thought I would. And dealing with the mountains of leftovers from that event was it was a total nightmare. Okay, I had a little bit of an accident and dropped 2 of the brownies, but that is fine because I did have extra brownies to begin with. So the show must go on. I have a genuine fear of prepping too much stuff, and I don't want to be stuck with the leftovers. I just want to optimize the work and ingredients I have to buy and all of that to the final sale amount. I would rather make less than too much. So I feel like in terms of numbers, my estimates should be very conservative, but I always have this genuine inner fear that it's always gonna be less than whatever I estimate. So I think this time I'm gonna have, let's say over the whole weekend, I will have 10 extra items. Is that too little? My guess would be 10 extra items out of the over 100 that I'm prepping now. Yes, that is my guess. Come up with what you think will happen and we will both find out what happens in the end. I have help today! Yay! Let's go! is time to attempt rolling up my biggest batch of cinnamon rolls ever. And also my 5th time ever making any kind of roll. Our dough has risen about double. I am very new to this. Let's put a little bit of flour actually. I do not have enough ingredients to make this again, so let's really hope that this works. If anyone works frequently with bread, I would love some tips because I am extremely new to this. Oh gosh, should I be putting a lot more flour? I don't want to dry out the dough though. I am making the largest batch of these black sesame rolls that I possibly can, which is a 13 by 18 inch pan, making the limit how big my food processor is and also the biggest pan I could find. That's how I came up with a 13 by 18 inch, and I'm just gonna roll it out to the size of this mat, which based on my previous experiment with the smaller batch should work fine as long as I'm very exact with the measurements. So we'll see how this turns out. I love eating bread, but making bread is absolutely not really my forte or something that I've done very many times in my life. Oh my gosh, this is hard work. I'm sweating. It's really hard to get the dough to go where you want. Last few times, what I figured out is the dimensions of the dough have to be perfect if you really do want perfect rolls, which I would love to have perfectly even rolls, so let's give that a try. All right, this is as good as it's gonna get. I've just cut off wherever it was slightly too much dough and stuck it where it needed to go to kind of make this into as perfect of a rectangle as I can get it to be. Next step, I have the homemade freshly roasted and ground paste. I'm just gonna pour that on, and we need to spread that out evenly over this entire piece of dough. All right, moment of truth. Whoa. Oh yeah, that is a big roll. Not bad. Oh my gosh, these are chunky. Here's the final product. Good morning. It is the last prep day that I have for this event. It has been a pretty rough week. Every day since Monday has been like go, go, go from the beginning of the day to the end of day, sleeping really late, not sleeping enough. And yesterday my back and neck were hurting like really badly. Today it's a little bit better. Now my arm hurts from some of the components and the stirring I had to do yesterday. But the show must go on. We're almost there. So I just gotta push through. I think I should be able to finish everything that I need to do today, but it's gonna be a pretty packed day. I have to finish up the hot chocolate bombs, which means I have to make the hot chocolate mixes, seal them inside of the spherical shells, and decorate them, pack them, and then I have to make the last batch of the black sesame praline for my black sesame rolls, which I powered through, and I made the kind of candied sesame seeds last night, so I just need to blend it today, so that should be pretty easy. I also need to make the matcha brownie cookies that we had recipe tested earlier in the week. I need to make the final batch of that, but I might also need to do one more test for that because I want to adjust the salt levels, and I'm not sure that I want to risk making 30 cookies with the adjusted salt level that I didn't test yet and finding out that it's not good. So that might take a little bit of time as well. And then I have to finish baking off the black sesame rolls. So I left them in the fridge overnight. Because this event is for 2 days, I do need to figure out if I want to bake all of the rolls today and then figure out how to properly reheat them without them deteriorating quality on Saturday and Sunday morning. Or I could alternatively proof and bake fresh the rolls each morning of the event. But the trade-off is they would spend more time in the fridge, which I'm not sure how that's going to change the flavor because of the yeast in it already. And then finally, I have to finish designing the updated labels and print out everything that I need for the event. Food labels that are going to be on the display, and then also additional thank you cards to give out during the event. So yeah, that's it. And it's already 12:30. We just have 8 hours to complete all of that. All right, let's see what I can do. time to try these rolls. Let's start with the one that I didn't add any additional moisture to. I just baked it covered in foil for 15 minutes. Let's try. Oh, that's not bad. Yesterday I tried microwaving a little bit and I was like super dry. This is like not bad, especially on the bottom. The top is maybe slightly drier than before, but it might be acceptable. Let's try the next one. This one obviously looks the exact same. Ooh, here's a little softer. Let me see. It is actually softer. I just spritzed it with a little bit of water before covering it in foil and also baking it for 15 minutes. Let's give it a try. That's much better. I feel like just biting through, you can tell this is a very soft roll. So easy to bite through versus this one has a little bit more resistance. It's not even that dry, but this one you can just tell it's softer, which is very important. Wow, very soft. Is it as soft as the very first day that they were baked? Maybe not. So maybe I could add a little bit more water, but spritzing with water and reheating in the oven is definitely the way to go for these. All right, I got the shots and it is time to try version 2 of these matcha brownie cookies. This time I added black lava sea salt onto the top, and it's more of like a coarse salt rather than a flaky salt, so we'll see how that changes the cookie experience as well. Cheers. Ooh. The texture is just amazing. It's so fudgy and chewy in the center, crisp on the edges. Really love that. I feel like now it is perfect amount of salt. It's crazy. I didn't change the amount of sugar at all. I just increased the salt by like 20%. And now I feel like it doesn't even taste sweet. But like obviously there's still the same amount of sugar. I think this is gonna be the final recipe. It is 2:30 a.m. and I finished sealing these hot chocolate bombs, but I did not get to decorate them. So we'll see if I have time for that in the morning. Probably not. It'll just be a game of how much I can get done tomorrow morning before we head out for the event. Good evening. It's 11:45 and I am barely surviving on 4 hours of sleep and we need to do it all over again tomorrow morning. But wanted to give a quick update on how the first day of the event went. It went pretty well. I think the estimates that I came up with were for the most part correct. The only thing is that I didn't end up selling that many cookies. There were quite a lot of leftover cookies. So I definitely will be trying out giving samples of that tomorrow because that's something we didn't do today. It was a very chill and fun event. There was actually quite a few people coming in and out throughout the event. So I think quite a good first day. I was able to finally finish the hot cocoa bombs today though. So it'll be interesting to see how those play out tomorrow. I have not looked at our total sales stats yet. So I'm gonna save that as a little surprise for the end. Quite a long day. I woke up after sleeping like 3 hours to take the black sesame rolls out of the fridge and start proofing them in the oven. But tomorrow I'm gonna be trying the trick of reheating the frozen rolls with some spritz of water. So that should hopefully allow me to sleep a little bit longer and recover a little bit more. Let's do it. We're about to head out and go to the second day of the event. And I'm just cutting up some cookie samples. So while I cut up these cookie slices, let me tell you about the game plan for today. I don't have as many of the ube butter mochi today, but I do have a ton of these matcha brownie cookies. So I'm going to primarily be giving samples of these instead of the ube butter mochi today. In my experience, when you give samples of something, it helps with sales of that item tremendously. But yeah, that is the strategy for today, to sell as many cookies and brownies as we can. Good evening. It is now 10:20 p.m. We finished up at the event, came home, I did some cleaning and organizing, we had some dinner, and now it is time to do a little recap and look at the final results of how much I sold and the total sales I did for this 2-day event. Just to recap, this event ran both Saturday and Sunday. It was a holiday market that ran from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. each day, and I think in the end around 250 people came in total. The vendor fee was $45 per day, which means for the whole weekend it was $90. And then in terms of the prep, it took the entire week to prep for. I'm not joking when I say I did not have time to do anything else. From the moment I woke up to when I went to bed, I was 100% working on prepping, recipe testing, doing everything I needed to get done to show up at this event. I actually have been to this space before, but at the time it was my second ever market that I did, and this time it's my 10th market. So it was definitely kind of crazy sitting there and realizing how much more experience I've gained and how much my table setup has really evolved over time. And I really feel like my table setup is finally reaching its final form. But yeah, in terms of estimates, I had estimated that there would be 10 items left over. And for sales, I think that my brain is totally fried. I'm not even doing math at this point. I think if I can make $400 from this 2-day event, I will be happy. And I actually don't know if that's not even possible. I don't even know. My brain is just not running anymore from the lack of sleep. So my guess is 400. Make a guess on your side and let's look at the results. Joe has a guess too. I'm not looking.
It's gonna be at least this, guaranteed.
No, I don't know what you guessed, but it sounds like it's higher than my guess. But the trick is to keep expectations low. That is the key in life. Do it anyways, but keep the expectations low. All right, let's sign into Square and let's see. Oh, I also wanted to mention I did pre-orders for this event as well, and I got 2 pre-orders. So I'm going to look at this and then we'll count in the sales amount from the pre-orders as well. All right. Oh my God, I'm getting nervous. I feel like my heart is beating fast. Let's look. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is this today? No way. That is more than I estimated. Okay, let's start with the item sales. Total number of items sold was 121 items. So yes, I did prep over 100 items. I'm very proud of myself. I had 14 items left over in the end, and in total I made $1,280.44 in sales. So that is way more than $400. I also spent some time this week setting up pre-orders for this event, so people could just order online and pick up at the event for anything they basically wanted to reserve. So I did get 2 pre-orders from that. There were $70 worth of sales from there. At the event, I also got $44 in tips. There were a total of 87 transactions. It's more than 400, so I'm happy with how everything turned out and how the event went. Even though I still had a few items left, I would say this event was a huge success. And I am not doing another holiday market this season because I think I just need to take some time to recover from this one. But yeah, that brings us to the very end of this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the behind the scenes of prepping and actually doing the market. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like content like this and you want to see more. Stay inspired, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!